256 leads in 11 months. I'm sharing some data on a baby SEO campaign, a very rewarding campaign, a very stressful campaign. So I'm just reflecting on the last year of work, technically 11 months since the new website went up, but even some months before that we started constructing backlinks, directory listicles. So this is an outdoor living, one-man band, sole operator, which is the quite stressful campaign to take on, and one that I will generally be very careful to sell to. If anyone knows me, I'm extremely conservative. I under-promise a lot, and I will set you up to expect absolute worst case scenario. The truth is, this is a competitive space. Decks, pergolas, garage renovations, outdoor living, alfresco areas, verandas, carports, decks, composite decks and things like that. We tracked 128 web form leads. This is when the client fills out a form and we have all the details of the inquiry. We've got a pergola, we need to rebuild a deck, etc. Now, in this case, I don't track the phone calls. I like to, in bigger clients, pick up my new unique phone numbers with call tracking and things like that. But from the weekly and monthly check-ins, the client says that they're about double the amount of calls as there are web form leads. Now, just to be super conservative, what I said, client said double, so I doubled this, but then I just divided it by 2 because that's how I prefer to conservatively calculate things. Now, what I also did, and once again, these figures that I'm about to share, they're pretty much made up, but it's just a calculation of the potential value that these leads might bring to the business. While I've had plenty of conversations of how much things cost, how much a deck costs, how much a pergola costs, and I generally know conversion rates if someone is good at sales, if someone is average at sales, and if someone is bad at sales. And what I also did is I built a few custom GPTs that will essentially read my inquiries, read the messages without any kind of private information, and then go out and do some research on what is the average life value of a pergola client and things like that. And a very conservative calculation is, out of these 256 leads at a low conversion, terrible sales, there was about 130k revenue. Medium is 600k revenue, and then 1.8 mil, which is a wild average. I don't want you to worry about this. This is not something that I ever promise. I just like to understand the value that these leads might bring. A quick snapshot. This website went up in February last year, so 11 months ago. This is an absolute baby campaign. It's a baby website. And what you're seeing here is all kinds of traffic increase, backlink increase, traffic increase. Now, this website actually existed for a number of years, and it was in a pretty, pretty terrible state. It was built, it wasn't ugly, but it was just mistreated by the various agencies that took over. Images were 8 meg each, and there were multiple of those images. The host was rubbish. I think, what was the host? SiteGround? There's a few of them. And look, all hosts can be good if you are on top of plugin optimizations, Cloudflare, but it was just a combination of just a cheap host, an unoptimized website was slapped up, and Elementor had all sorts of caching issues. There wasn't any plugins that sped things up, but those plugins aren't going to do anything if the images aren't compressed. And what I mean by compressed, you don't just run them through an application and let it magically just make them smaller. You actually have to cut them down to a size. Why would you load a 2000 pixel image if you're only about to display it in 500 pixels? The images need to be WebP. We extract a lot of the EXIF data, we extract all the colors that are not needed, and we just get our images down to 50 kilobytes, 100 kilobytes. A banner might be a little bit more, But nevertheless, what you're seeing here is a rebuild of the whole site. The general aesthetics were kept and an evolution of a whole bunch of new pages that went up. And what you're seeing here is this yellow graph is the new pages going up and being indexed and being picked up. Now, once again, this is AHREFS. AHREFS is an SEO third-party tool. It just grabs averages. It's not the source of data or source of truth. That's your Google Search Console, which is over here. Once again, this is a baby campaign. This is a sole operator going up against pretty substantial outdoor living competitors, companies with multi-locations, with office environments, with big teams, with big brands, right? So this is just a little guy. One of the most stressful things that I can take on, because a lot of the time, these are very expensive campaigns because the cost of entry for a sole operator is, in this case, quite a lot. The one thing that a lot of these local campaigns have going for them is, in this case, Australia is large, the cities are large, and someone will inquire on a deck builder that's near them, or the deck builder doesn't want to travel too far. So within 20-30 kilometer radius, there's search volume in all of these areas. And that's the first place that I start, is I do keyword research to understand how many times a month does someone type in garage renovations, garage builders, outdoor living, al fresco, veranda, carports, deck builders, poolside. This is not all the pages. These were just the directions initially that we've been targeting. So pages being indexed, and then delayed effect by a couple of months. We can see in June things begin to pick up. Organic traffic begins to pick up, and that organic traffic is actually worth something. Now, I always insist when leads are desirable ASAP and are needed, that some money should be thrown at some kind of rental strategy, be it a Facebook ad, be it a Google ad. Facebook ads can work in this space, but I lean towards just paying for the exact keyword that mattered. Might be deck builder or pergola builder Melbourne. We targeted 20 kilometer radius, and thankfully the ad needed to be turned off a few months later. So you can see in February, ad goes on by, I think it was March or April or even June, whatever that period is. Ads were off. We only spent 2.6 thousand. Leads were not cheap. They were under 200 bucks, but they averaged from 80 to 150. So around there, because we were testing different ad groups, different landing pages. But you can see each click is $19. What you're seeing here is the true cost per click on keywords that actually matter. When you remove all of the weeds of broad match key terms, informational key terms that might get traffic but deliver no real commercial value, and you pull apart all the weeds and you just precisely pay Google for keywords that matter, that's the cost. And so when we look at the traffic that the site has received, 1.9 thousand clicks. Now, not all of those clicks are, of course, at $19, but you're starting to get a sense of value that's been driven in terms of traffic. Now, obviously, all that matters is leads, and that's where these calculations came into place. There were roughly 23 leads per a month, which is amazing for the client, since he's never actually had marketing that's worked, and all of a sudden something has just happened and he's getting these random calls, whether it's on a weekend, his local accounts popped up, his Google Maps account has popped up, he's showing up in places, and we can see where the leads are coming from. We can see that it came from the pergola builders or pergola installations page. So you can attribute success. The leads will come via SMS, and I enjoy syncing them out via WhatsApp. That way the client has the lead available straight away. Now, what we did, and once again, this is a simple ChatGPT search. If you look at the calculations on how much things cost, now at this stage I threw in 100 leads just to see what kind of results we'd get. And we had a look at how much things cost. So there's an article here on High Pages on how much a decking would cost to install. Right, $200 a square meter. I know nothing about this space, so don't hold me to this. These are just general figures. Cheap decking, middle decking, high decking. If you're a trader, you might laugh at this, but there's some kind of truth in this, in how much. And so that's how I was able to calculate roughly that 256 leads in 11 months at a low conversion, which is 6%. That means 6% of those 256 leads converted to some kind of business. Now that's an extremely low conversion. I have a wide range of clients, and as someone that used to work in a call center, that I used to sit next to people with accents, my family have got accents, I can see the difference between a good salesperson without an accent, a bad salesperson with an accent as well, and everything in between. So these are just general calculations of the profitability. So there was some background search on these numbers, right? So it's truth somewhere in between, but I'll come back here. What we're seeing here is Google Search Console is saying that we have begun to pick up some traffic. Once again, this is nothing to celebrate about. Any SEO that's been that's been in this space will be like, yeah, this is nothing to celebrate. I'm just sharing results that a sole operator does have a chance, and a good chance, without needing to pay big money to Google Ads. You can see the Google Ad campaign is off. The leads are continuing to flow. SEMrush says good things. AHREFS says good things. The little guy can win. So the direction is that you have to do keyword research, and you have to pick keywords that are realistic for the budget. If you want to rank for injury legal, injury lawyer, if you want to rank for bathroom renovations, you have to be realistic that those leads might be expensive, and those competitors will have very powerful assets. Tree removal is super competitive, but stump removal isn't. Commercial cleaner is competitive. Industrial cleaner, construction cleaner isn't as competitive. So, moral of the story, go after high value commercial intent keywords that are potentially long tail or super niche, instead of just going after commercial cleaner. So if I keep going down here, there's a breakdown of service pages. There are more pages. I didn't load all the pages that we had built. There's about 30 of these pages. Then additionally, there are geo pages, which are pages that target the specific suburbs that we want to offer these services to. Now, this particular campaign now doesn't want to travel as far, so it's quite tighter. There are 62 blogs that basically blogs surrounding the services that I would consider bread and butter for the client. It's really important to me that I know what service the client offers that they want more of. That's their bread and butter service. That's why we've got 18 posts in outdoor decking, pergola, 20 posts. And so the idea is, when Google sees these guides and blogs about your advice on having budget ideas and pergola ideas and what kind of decks are available and decking designs, all of these are now written in a way from personal experience of the client. So we create like an avatar, an author, real client author, and make it look like we're talking from experience. A lot of the time I will interview my clients. Sole operators, it's hard because they are very time poor, time limited. So sometimes we'll get on a call, or I will send them a list of interview questions. They'll smash out the questions as best as we can, and that will help us create somewhat meaningful blogs. So 20 blogs about veranda, pergola. There are more, I just didn't have a chance to properly sync it. So let me make sure that I've covered everything. So just to restart, when the client first found me, I did an inspection of the website. I logged into it and it was just bogged down. It was quite fresh. It was just mistreated, and for a few years it wasn't getting indexed. Google didn't want to show it. It was slow, it was clunky, it was just a bad experience. In that time, I had created a few of my lead gen sites. I've got a whole bunch of home renovation sites. I quickly slapped up garage, decks, outdoor, alfresco, carport pages on those pages to begin building a bit of attention to the client's domain. This is where I attempt to push some leads to his campaign, which we were able to do early on. This is where we plan out a new website design. The design was done by a designer. I actually kept it very similar because it was quite pretty. It was just mistreated in the development process. And this commonly happens when things are done overseas and it's just someone's been given a job, they go and build it, and then that's it. There's no SEO titles, there's no optimization, 8 megabyte images. There's just no care. They've done the thing and they've left it as it is. There's no quality control that follows, and then why is the website not indexed on Google at all? Then I spend a lot of time dissecting competitors. I know this space quite well as I personally have a lot of sites in this space, but I look at what keywords are realistic. I deconstruct those competitors. I'll throw their domains into a screaming frog audit. I will look at keywords and I will divide the keywords into ones that we can realistically rank for and ones that we can forget about. We're still going to build bathroom renovations for anyone that wants to offer that service. I just might set expectations. That might be a hard one to rank for a new site with no authority, no trust, no backlinks. Every month website gets hit with backlinks. That's why the backlink graph is going up. Now, there are quite a lot of backlinks that I build that are hidden. I've hidden the AHREFS crawler. I have a lot of private websites, but I have a lot of hundreds of what I call white hat rank and rent websites. That might be like a deck builder Sydney website that's a genuine deck builder, and when it gets a lead I will send the lead to my client campaigns. I commonly use those links to place articles and mentions to our home builder clients, so a handshake between two businesses. A lot of the time those pages, those websites will get listicle posts. It's a website in the decks and pergolas and it's potentially mentioning fence builders, right? Top 10 fence builders, Sydney. This creates for a very natural looking website, a web. There's 50 blogs, 50 guides. Blogs these days are dead compared to the way they were some years ago, especially on lead gen sites. It's really hard to pick up unique, meaningful private data, whereas when it's a real client, let's say my electrician that I work with, he's working with Mitsubishi electricians all day, every day, there are some unique comments that could allow us to publish more unique websites. Same with this outdoor living. He knows what type of composite decking to use and not use, where to get it from, when we have time to capture projects like that. A lot of the time these guys are just too busy for that kind of stuff and the website kind of misses out. I've got a pest control in that phase where we're still waiting on some meaningful photographs, but it's good. What, 4 years, 5 years later, they're extremely busy. That's a good problem to have. It means the campaign is working. So overall, heading in the right direction. Obviously we want more traffic, we want more inquiries. We don't want to rely on Google ads or Facebook ads, but hey, he might come along and said, yep, I've got a team of an extra 2, let's get the Google ad running. Happens a lot with my SEO campaigns. They expand and we use Google ads as the tap. We turn it on, we spend a couple of grand, we fill up our calendar, we turn it off. That's what the little guys commonly do. Hope that's helpful. Please let me know if you have any questions. I can give you some tips. Send me a link to your website and I'll give you my 5 cents on what I would do if it was mine. Thank you.